Michael Jackson had performed for thousands, smiled for cameras, and mastered the art of looking untouchable under lights. But backstage, where the applause fades into concrete hallways and humming cables, there were moments no one was supposed to see. One night, in a place only crew and shadows belonged, someone walked in at the exact wrong time. Or maybe the exact right time. What happened next started with a janitor and 4 quiet words Michael never forgot. It was the mid-1990s on a tour stop that had been running like clockwork. Outside the arena, fans were still chanting even after the encore. Inside, the corridors behind the stage felt like a different universe. Dim, narrow, full of road cases and coiled cables, the air smelling like sweat, hairspray, and warm metal. The crew moved fast. Everyone had jobs, no one lingered. Backstage had rules that didn't need to be written down. Don't stare, don't ask. Don't slow the machine. And above all, if you heard something private through a door, you kept walking. Michael's dressing room was at the end of a hallway that always seemed quieter than the rest. Not because it was guarded like a fortress, because people avoided it by instinct. They treated that door like it was made of something fragile. That night, the show had been a success on paper. The crowd was loud. The set hit every cue. The band was tight. No major technical problems, no headlines waiting to happen, the kind of night management loved. But something about Michael didn't match the scoreboard. After the final bow, he'd walked off stage quickly. No victory smile, no joking with dancers, just straight into the corridor with a towel around his neck, head slightly down, moving like he was trying to outrun the noise that followed him even after the music stopped. Most people assumed he was exhausted. Some guessed he was in pain. Nobody guessed what was actually happening, because the truth didn't look like a superstar. It looked like a person who had been holding himself together for too long. Meanwhile, a janitor named Mr. Leon was working the backstage area. He was older, late 50s, maybe 60, moving with the calm rhythm of someone who had cleaned the same kinds of places for decades. The crew barely noticed him, which was exactly why he could work uninterrupted. He swept spilled soda near loading doors, mopped scuffed floors, and emptied trash bins full of tape scraps and set lists. Leon wasn't starstruck. Not because he didn't know who Michael was, everyone knew, but because Leon had raised kids, buried a brother, worked 2 jobs, and learned that fame didn't change what tired eyes looked like. He also knew something else. Backstage after a concert was when the mask came off for everyone, even the crew. Near the end of his shift, Leon pushed his cart down the quiet hallway to check a side restroom. The wheels squeaked softly. He stopped once to tighten a loose handle on the mop bucket so it wouldn't rattle. Then he heard it. Not music, not laughter. A sound that didn't belong in a victory corridor. It was faint, muffled, like someone trying to keep it hidden. A quiet sob. Leon paused. He looked down the hall. Security stood farther away, talking quietly, not paying attention. The door at the end, Michael's door, was slightly open. Not wide open, just enough that a sliver of warm light cut into the hallway. Leon should have turned around. That's what most people would do. That's what the unspoken rules said. But Leon had spent his whole life learning the difference between privacy and someone needs help. He walked closer, slow, careful, making sure his cart didn't squeak too loud. The sobbing stopped for a second, like whoever was inside sensed movement. Leon gently knocked on the door frame. Not the door, not hard, just a soft tap to announce he existed. "Sir," Leon said quietly, "you all right in there?" Silence. Then a voice, thin, controlled, trying to sound normal and failing. "Yeah," Michael said, "I'm fine." Leon didn't move. He didn't step in. He didn't push the door wider. He simply stood where he was, respectful. "I'm just the janitor," Leon said, calm and plain. "I can keep walking if you want." Another pause. The light inside didn't change, but the air did, like someone was deciding whether to hide or breathe. Then Michael's voice came again, softer. "It's okay," he said. You can come in." Leon pushed the door a few inches wider and stepped inside. The room was dim except for one lamp. Glittering stage pieces were draped over a chair like they belonged to someone else. Water bottles sat untouched. A mirror with bright bulbs framed a face that looked drained, not the Michael the world screamed for. A quieter Michael, eyes red, shoulders slumped, towel clenched in one hand like it was the only thing holding him together. Michael was sitting on the edge of a couch, elbows on his knees, trying to breathe normally again. Leon stopped just inside the room, keeping distance. He didn't say, "Oh my God, it's you." He didn't ask for an autograph. He didn't even act surprised. He just looked at Michael like he would look at any man who was hurting and trying not to show it. Michael wiped his face quickly, embarrassed. "Sorry," he muttered. "I don't usually—" Leon lifted a hand gently, not to interrupt rudely, but to stop the shame from building. "Don't apologize for being human," Leon said. Michael looked up at him, startled, not by the words, but by the tone. It was so normal, so unafraid. Leon glanced around the room, at the costumes, the flowers, the congratulatory notes stacked on a table like trophies. "Big night," Leon said. Michael let out a small laugh that wasn't happy. "Yeah," he said, "big." Leon nodded slowly. "Funny how the big nights hit the hardest sometimes." That line landed. Michael stared at the floor for a moment, then whispered, almost like he didn't want to admit it out loud. "I did everything right." Leon didn't rush to comfort him with empty reassurance. He didn't say, "Of course you did." He waited. Michael's voice tightened. "I did everything right," he repeated, "and I still feel empty." The room went quiet. Leon rested both hands lightly on the handle of his cleaning cart, like it gave him something to hold while he chose his words. "You know what I think?" Leon said. Michael looked up again. Leon nodded toward the door, toward the muffled roar still lingering outside the arena. "Out there," Leon said, "they see the shine." He nodded toward Michael's chest, where the costume glitter still clung faintly like dust. "In here," Leon said, "you feel the weight." Michael swallowed hard. Leon continued, voice low and steady. "I've cleaned a lot of halls," he said. "I've seen champions, preachers, politicians, rich men, poor men. Everybody's got a hallway where they fall apart." Michael's eyes glistened again, but this time he didn't look ashamed. He looked relieved that someone wasn't shocked. Leon took a slow step closer, still keeping respectful distance. Then he said the 4 words. Simple, quiet, and sharp enough to cut through the noise Michael had been living in for years. "You did enough today?" Michael blinked. Leon repeated it softer. "You did enough today." The sentence didn't fix Michael's life. It didn't erase the pressure. It didn't rewrite the past. But it did something more important in that moment. It gave Michael permission to stop fighting himself for one night. Michael's breathing changed. His shoulders dropped a fraction. He stared at Leon like he was trying to understand why those words felt heavier than applause. "I don't know how to stop," Michael whispered. "If I stop, people leave." Leon shook his head slowly. "People leave anyway," he said. "That's life." Michael's face tightened at that truth. Leon softened his tone immediately. "But some people stay," he added. "The ones who matter." Michael looked down, then back up. "You have kids?" Suddenly, Leon nodded. "2." Michael's voice was small. Do they ever think you're not enough?" Leon smiled sadly. "Sometimes," he said. "And when they do, I tell them the same thing I'm telling you." Michael swallowed. "You did enough today." Michael sat back slightly, like the couch finally felt real under him. The silence between them wasn't awkward now. It was shared. After a moment, Michael whispered, "Why would you say that to me?" Leon shrugged. "Because," he said, "I saw a man trying to carry tomorrow on his back." Michael's eyes filled again, but this time, something about the tears looked cleaner, less like a breakdown, more like release. A gentle knock came at the door. A security guard peeked in, tense. "Mr. Jackson, we're ready to move." Michael wiped his face once more and nodded. He stood slowly, like he was putting himself back together piece by piece. Leon stepped back instinctively, ready to disappear again, to return to being invisible. But Michael stopped at the doorway and turned. "Sir," Michael said, voice steady now. Leon looked up. Michael hesitated, then spoke quietly, like he didn't want it overheard. "What was your name?" "Leon," Leon said. Michael nodded. "Leon," he repeated, as if committing it to memory. Then he added softly, "Thank you." Leon nodded once. "Get some rest," he said. Michael almost smiled. "I'm going to try," he said. Then he left with security, disappearing into the corridor and the noise in the machine. Leon stood alone in the dressing room for a second, staring at the lamp, the flowers, the costumes, the strange emptiness fame leaves behind. Then he did what he always did. He turned off the light, pushed his cart back into the hallway, and kept working. The next night, the show went on. The lights flashed, the crowd screamed, the world saw the legend again. But backstage, if you watched closely, you might have noticed something small. Michael, taking one extra breath before walking out, shoulders dropping just a bit like someone reminding himself, "You did enough today." And the truth is, the biggest thing Leon gave him that night wasn't advice. It was dignity. It was permission. It was 4 words that didn't belong to fame at all. They belonged to being human. If this story stayed with you, please like and subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that sometimes the kindest words are the simplest ones. Have you ever had someone say something small that changed your whole day? Tell us in the comments and hit the notification bell for more untold, documentary-style stories from the world of music.